Hi guys, welcome to Camper Care. My name is Chris and I'm a certified RV technician. You might recognize me from other unique camping and marine videos that we've done for you in the past. And on this video, we're going to be installing this Thetford toilet with a porcelain bowl in place of a Dometic toilet with a plastic bowl that came with the RV. So the point of this channel is so that you become a little bit more self-reliant and are able to swap out and repair some pretty easy to repair things around the RV without needing to call a technician. So let's get started. So before we get started on the uninstall of the toilet which came with this RV stock, one thing which I'd like to point out is always make sure that you take correct measurements of the toilet which you are replacing the old one with. We ran into some trouble with this when it came to another toilet which I was trying to swap out. It was a 300 series Dometic toilet, which is what is currently installed inside of here. But as soon as we were ready to pop it into place, it was not a like for like trade. The footprint was completely different. And so just learn from our mistakes on this one and make sure that you measure out the new toilet before you try to install it. It'll just save you a bunch of work. So we're going to start the uninstallation here by removing a false panel which covers up the water supply connections behind the toilet. There's only 2 screws which hold this thing in place, and I'm using a Phillips screwdriver to just undo these 2 screws which hold the wall down. Now, it's important to note that I'm not using any power tools for this sort of a thing, because these screws that hold this in are going into some really light wood behind there, and I would not want to accidentally, say, have the drill in the wrong position, which could potentially mean that I was drilling it in, and this would definitely eat out the wall behind it. So now that we've got that out of the way, I'm going to remove any other little pieces which fell behind, and I will start by disconnecting the water line. So the very first thing which I did before starting on this project was to make sure that I had no more water in the water lines. I made sure that the freshwater holding tank was empty, and I also made sure that there was no water connected to the RV itself. The RV was previously winterized, so we went ahead and got rid of any pressure which was inside of the water lines. So there's still probably going to be a little bit of pink antifreeze which dribbles out when I undo this, but I'm going to remove the water line off of the back of the toilet. I always like to put a paper towel down first in order to try to catch any dribbles which might come out. From there, I'm going to remove the caps off of the little threaded studs that stick up from the flange that the toilet is attached to expose the bolts underneath. So I'm going to remove these nuts off of the studs which stick up from the flange. I'm using a 7/16 inch wrench to do so. I kind of got to feel around for it, but I don't have a whole lot of room to work vertically on this, which is why I'm not using a socket for it, and it only takes a couple of turns in order to get it loose enough for me to unthread it by hand. There's the first one undone, and now I'm going to do the one on the other side. So now that we've got the 2 bolts undone, and the water line removed from the back of the toilet, I can simply lift the toilet straight up off of the flange which it sits on and expose the toilet flange itself. So before we go replacing the hardware and installing the new toilet itself, I'm going to confirm my measurements here. So I'm going to do that by using just a tape measure, and the instructions for this toilet state that it needs to be 9.5 inches from the stud itself to the wall, and we're exactly at 9.5 inches. So this might be a close fit, and we'll just kind of see how well it fits for sure. So before we go with installing the new toilet, the very first thing which we need to do is install the gasket which seals between the toilet and the flange in the floor. So it's a very simple process. All that you need to do is slide it in place. Dometic has a gasket which states which side is down. This one does not. However, it only really goes on one logical way, and that's so that the gasket itself, the flow will be matching up with the flange itself. So now this is installed on there, and we're ready to pop the toilet in. So with the new gasket in place, we're ready to install the new toilet. And all that I need to do is basically gently lower it down and line up the hardware with the 2 points at the bottom of the toilet. So let me get positioned correctly here. And you kind of have to do this a little bit by feel, because it's not the easiest thing to see. So I've got the first one lined up. I'm going to go to the other side and feel around for the other one. All right, that one lined up very, very easily. Now I'm going to work the toilet back and forth a little bit to make sure that it is sitting flush on the ground, and so that I don't have any gaps. It can get a twist inside there, and you want to make sure that that toilet gasket is actually sitting flat on the ground. From there, now that I've got it sitting flush on the ground, I'm going to start threading on my hardware, the nut going onto the stem here. I always like to go hand tight first, and then tighten it up with the wrench. Now we're just threading on the other nut on the other side of the toilet. Get it nice and snug, hand tight. And then I'm going to wrench it down a little bit more with my 7/16 inch wrench. If the flange doesn't fit the new toilet, you can always replace the toilet flange and get one which matches the toilet itself. I'm going to go ahead and now reconnect my water line. It is at a very different position from the old one, so I'm going to need to move the plumbing around a little bit, and fortunately I've got plenty of space to do that, so I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so we have installed the toilet and reconnected the water line behind it. What we're going to do now is test it and test it for leaks. So it is winter time while we are filming this, so we're going to be using antifreeze so that we can maintain a winterized RV during this. So I'm going to basically, we've run it a little bit here just to make sure that we didn't have any snafus before running it. And so I'm going to flush the toilet and check for leaks at the bottom of the flange. So there you have it. We pulled out this old Dometic toilet with the plastic bowl and swapped it out for this Thetford toilet, which has a very, very nice porcelain bowl inside of there. It's a little bit more sturdy. It's got a slow close lid. And we got it in there without having any real problems and no leaks whatsoever. So that about wraps it up for this one. Hopefully you guys learned something. I'm Chris with Camper Care. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.